effective and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
Hello and many thanks for finding time to join us from the studios of MITV. My name is OYEYIMIKA welcoming you to yet another episode of Corporate Governance Platform. Corporate Governance Platform is coming to you from the studios of MITV. We are reaching you on DSTV 255 and UHF 43. In this episode, we have the privilege of the presence of OYEYIMIKA, ITUNUOLA, KETIKU, FCIS. I'd like to bid you a warm welcome.
Thank you very much.
And today we're taking a look at relevance of whistleblowing to corporate sustainability. I would like to get started by asking you, what is whistleblowing and what is its purpose?
Whistleblowing refers to reporting of unethical conduct, activities that show misconduct within an organization or an institution, and it's reported to authorities through a designated channel. The purpose for whistleblowing is basically for organizations to eradicate that unethical behavior or conduct in organization. It's a preventive tool used to be able to ensure that the growth of the organization and development by ensuring that employees know that there's a way they can report if they observe, or stakeholders even, if they observe the activities that are not to the benefit of the organization that goes on, and also for the organization, the managers, to be able to deal with the matter at an early stage.
May I quickly tell our numerous viewers, you have the privilege of joining this production by calling 07, or rather send a text message to 0705 768 1980. We are taking a look at relevance of whistleblowing to corporate sustainability. Relevance of whistleblowing to corporate sustainability, and I have the privilege of the person of Mrs. OYEYIMIKA ITUNUOLA KETIKU. She is a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. 0705 768 1980. Text message only. Very shortly, we shall attend to your text message. May I go to the second question? Yes. And I'd like to start by telling you what is the relevance of whistleblowing in the concept of corporate governance.
Whistleblowing itself, corporate governance itself, is a collection of control mechanisms which is used to ensure that an organization or institution runs well. So whistleblowing is one of those major mechanisms used under corporate governance to ensure that employees, stakeholders have confidence in the running of an organization, where employees, stakeholders are able to report either through internal or external channels on any kind of activity that does not benefit the growth and development of the organization. So that is how whistleblowing is a very important concept in corporate governance.
Well, the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance, NCCG, provides that the framework for whistleblowing should be known to employees and external stakeholders. What is the best way the company can do this?
By creating a whistleblowing mechanism. This entails a whistleblowing policy framework. You have what they call a complaint reporting platform. You also have what you call a well-structured, detailed process in which there's a response plan, awareness to employee stakeholders and all in the organization or institution, and if possible, we talk of training. The Principle 19 of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance requires the board to ensure that employees are able to report either internally or externally regarding whether there is misconduct or violations of laws and regulations, and provide that channel that they are confident enough to speak up, and also for the organization to be able to deal with the matter fast and quickly. And this basically protects the reputation and the organization properly.
You can be a part of this production by sending a text message to 0705 768 1980. The program is Corporate Governance Platform, and it is coming to you on the bills of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. I am OYEYIMIKA Labiron. We have the privilege of the presence of a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, FCIS, in the person of Mrs. OYEYIMIKA ITUNUOLA KETIKU, FCIS. May I quickly take you through the fourth question? Do you think that it is better for the information received from a whistleblower should be investigated by external persons instead of using a person within the organization in order to ensure objectivity and protect the interest of the organization?
For me, it depends on the type of report. A whistleblowing policy should have internal procedure for reporting and external procedure. For example, if you have just a misconduct or an activity or irregularity from a regular employee, there should be an internal procedure for reporting that, which makes the whistleblower anonymous. However, if it goes to the level of management, we're talking of board, an external reporting system or platform should be in place to make that report to a higher authority, which is the external body. We've known that having external for reporting gives independence, effectiveness, confidentiality, and the whistleblower remains anonymous. And because of that, for me, it depends on the type of report that the whistleblower is bringing to the table for one to decide whether it's an internal policy that would be okay, or reporting through the external mechanism set in place for reporting.
The number to send your text message is 0705 768 1980. And we're taking a look at whistleblowing. And may I go and ask you, is it necessary for the organization to give an update to the whistleblower on the steps it has taken on the information provided? If yes, what is the procedure to be adopted?
I think it's important that the whistleblower is aware. My reasons for this is that a whistleblowing policy should have what they call, after the whistleblower reports, should have an acknowledgement. So the whistleblower is confident that, okay, the organization is taking my report seriously. And along the line, as investigations go on and verification, an update should be given, and up to the point of investigation and conclusion, and reports should be kept regarding the investigation. And this should also be given to the whistleblower. It helps, it brings the genuineness of an organization in dealing with a whistleblowing, and it creates that confidence and awareness for everyone to know that this organization, this institution, takes whistleblowing as a serious and important part of their policy.
When a whistleblower alleges that he has been victimized and presents a complaint to both the board and regulator of the organization, but they both have conflicting positions on the allegation, what do you think the whistleblower should do to get justice? At
this stage, where there are two conflicting, both the board and the management and the regulator are both, should I say, loggerheads. At this stage, the whistleblower might think of taking it beyond that to law enforcement. Law enforcement, I mean ICPC, EFCC, depending on, like I mentioned earlier, the type of reports that it's given. That way, the whistleblower will be able to get justice, and the reports, the kind of misconduct, the kind of activity that is not beneficial to the organization will be dealt with and will be reviewed and investigated properly. At this stage, there needs to be a superior external authority that would oversee what is going on in that organization or institution.
Can a whistleblower and the court rely on the provision that he is entitled to compensation and reinstatement in the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance in case of litigation? If not, what are the options?
That question is, in practical sense, I would say it should be possible. However, practically, it might be hard. We've seen the case of Mr. Ibrahim of the Federal Mortgage Bank. He was dismissed, and before an issue of him being reinstated, we've seen with the case of Mr. Thompson, also, even though he was reinstated, he still had to fight for the salary for the 8 months. So for me, there may be other sectorial laws, there may be other regulations that would get the required reinstatement, the required benefit or reward that the whistleblower is searching for. Not necessarily, because the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance, those are just recommendations, and it might not have that power. Remember, there are other sectorial code of corporate governance in different sectors, which sometimes have loggerheads with the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance, and because of that, they tend to be more effective. So that's why it depends on the situation. For the whistleblower, the court to rely on the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance in getting reinstatement or a reward or compensation.
The program is a corporate governance platform. It is coming to you from the studios of MITV. We're transmitting on DSTV 255 and UHF 43. We're taking a look at the relevance of whistleblowing to corporate sustainability. You can be a part of this production by sending our text message to 0705 768 1980. We have a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, FCIS, in the studios. May I ask you, how would you reconcile the practice that whistleblowing can be done anonymously and the recent initiative to give whistleblower incentives?
I personally have a review that giving incentive, even though it has given, it's been good when it's lasted, but the issue of identity of the whistleblower has been an issue that the reward has truncated, in the sense that because of the reward, there is no way that the identity of the whistleblower will remain anonymous. There are people, in terms of releasing the reward, in terms of verification to get the reward, that itself makes it a conflict that even though the compensation is there to reward, but it doesn't have, how would I put it? It doesn't help in keeping animosity, in keeping the whistleblower's identity secret. Whistleblower, through that process of getting the reward, the identity will be known. For me, it's better to have a different approach.
Well, the federal government has recently developed a national policy on whistleblowing. Do you think such a policy is enough, or it is better to have an act of the National Assembly on the subject, and why?
I know the Buhari administration actually dealt on that, and the finance minister, the huge sums of money, over 600,000, is a billion or million naira, was recovered. There are about 1,000 cases, investigations, indictments, and all that. It was good. The money, a lot of money was received through that process. But then again, the whistleblower is still affected. There's victimization, there's reprisal, and there's even threat to life for the whistleblower. So the incentive, it's better for an act to be of the National Assembly to be passed, protecting the identity, protecting the whistleblower from having issues of losing their jobs, of victimization, and so many other things that can affect the whistleblower. Because when they know that their rights are going to be protected, they would definitely not. They would definitely want to come out. And I would also like to put out there, data protection requirements should also be enshrined into protection of the whistleblower identity. Because in the process of having data protection requirements, the personal data of the whistleblower is out. When we talk of sensitive personal data, it's also out when you're talking of if the issue of criminality is there, or the issue of sexual abuse or misconduct is there. So data protection requirements should be put in the policy and turned into an act. I know there's a whistleblowing protection bill which has not been signed. It's been going to the National Assembly several times and has not moved beyond that. If the whistleblowing protection bill could be turned into an act of the National Assembly, that would really help. I understand that it doesn't yet protect the identity of the whistleblower, but it's a step in the right direction, which we need to take to protect whistleblowers in Nigeria.
Well, let me just take a look at is whistleblowing on the National Code of Corporate Governance equally as useful a tool in the public sector? It is.
It is a very useful tool. Last year, August 2022, the Lagos State LIRS introduced what they call an anonymous portal where people could report issues regarding under whistleblowing, and that if it's then they created stages where if it's within the institution where you can report. If it's in management level, it goes to the Commissioner of Finance in Lagos State. So they've created a kind of policy in place, a kind of mechanism that would encourage whistleblowing. And they have 3 tiers where you have the whistleblower does not need to mention anything about their identity. They have one that the whistleblower can just mention the name, and this is just for verification. They have a third part where documents will need to be submitted. So the whistleblower needs to bring out their name, maybe probably their address and all that. But all this information gathered is protected. And that would be a good way to say that public institutions also follow the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance.
Well, I still have 2 more questions for you, but I need to tell our numerous viewers the program is Corporate Governance Platform. It is coming to you from the studios of MITV, transmitting on DSTV 255 and UHF 43. Before I go to about 2 more questions, before we round up the program, may I quickly tell our numerous viewers that Mrs. Yimika KETIKU practiced law in 2 jurisdictions, Nigeria and Canada, under the name Novule Legal. She has a master's degree in general commercial law. In addition, she is a certified governance practitioner with the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. Yimika has over 19 years' experience working as a corporate lawyer. She was formerly the Honorary Secretary of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, Lagos State Chapter, between 2020 and 2022. The program, once again, you can be a part of this program by getting across on 0705 768 1980. Text message only. I'd like to go to another question. Well, may I quickly ask, how would, what advice do you have for organizations of whistleblowing?
Create a whistleblowing mechanism, put in place a policy. Let the channels for reporting be one that is anonymous. Nobody use software if possible, which is the best way to go about it. Those that receive the information, you have two different stages, one internally, externally, because you can't remove the oversight duties of the board. That's why you have to have the internal one. And also incorporate data protection requirements into the policy so that the identity of the whistleblower is known. Another thing is to educate, create awareness that this organization, this institution takes whistleblowing seriously. Train the employees, have workshops talking about whistleblowing and making it known that it's important. This would help the growth, the reputation of the organization. Those are my comments and recommendations.
Well, does Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria have guidance material on the theme of whistleblowing? Guidance material?
We are actually in the process of putting guidance materials together. It is hopeful that before the end of this year, ICSAN will bring out guidance materials on whistleblowing, and which will be shared with everyone at the time it's completed. I believe an introduction into it will be placed, and we'll all be aware of the guidance on whistleblowing from ICSAN.
You were trying the other time to share with us a practical example. Do you have another one you can share with us of somebody who blew the whistle and probably was not compensated or suffered for that particular exercise? Because you told us the other time it could be blown anonymously. So for the purpose of safety of lives, what would you suggest? Do you have an example to share with us?
For the purpose, the whistleblower for the money recovered, the 43 million that was recovered in Ikoyi, the whistleblower in that case, because of the case of confidentiality, there were actually two whistleblowers, and the issue about the compensation became a problem. Eventually, the amount to be paid was about 800 million thereabouts, but eventually the whistleblower got 400. But the whistleblower had to leave the country after getting that money, and which shouldn't be the case. For me, the only way is to have an act in place to protect, where the whistleblower is confident. If I'm doing this, I'm blowing out, I'm trying to speak out, what I'm seeing, the activities by the people in this organization or institution are wrong, and people need to know. There needs to be correction. Their rights have to be protected. The one about the Ikoyi recovery, he didn't need to run away, but because he knew that since he has recovered and a lot of his information will be out there, even for the fact that he went to court to get that amount, obviously his identity is known. He had to run away. That shouldn't be the case, and that is a part that should be dealt with and should be taken seriously. That's why I insist that data protection requirements should be incorporated into whistleblowing policies.
Data protection requirements should be incorporated into whistleblowing policies. I have been speaking with Mrs. OYEYIMIKA, ITUNUOLA, KETIKU, FCIS. Well, we've been talking about the relevance of whistleblowing to corporate sustainability. I want to say thank you very much for finding time to be a part of this particular episode.
Thank you.
Well, don't forget to send in your text message once again on 0705-768-1980. They shall be given the relevant attention. My name is Adeboyega Laberon. Thanking you for finding time to be a part of this production. Don't forget to join us next week, Thursday, for yet another episode of Corporate Governance Platform, which has been coming to you from the studios of MITV, transmitting on DSTV 255. And until we come your way next week, it's bye for now.
Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.